Yo, this is June 30th. Continuing the journey, the whole saga of yesterday. I left off at the end of term two-ish. Butter, get down. Get down from there. Stop. Oh, no! Butter, stop. Oh my gosh. It's like not a moment's peace. So yesterday I left off after this course, and I had flown, or no, I was about to get ready to go to the Vietnam trip, which is where kind of things really had a major inflection point, I guess. It was like at the end of term two, moving into term three, we're preparing a project, and basically as part of the MBA, I'm going over to Vietnam to meet with the business and do all of this, and that was its own great experience on its own. But after that, or actually, as I'm going through the trip, it was interesting because like I was feeling these feelings that I wasn't sure what was happening. I think I'd mentioned in the last yesterday that I was feeling kind of like disconnected from my roots, and going back and going into Vietnam, it was this feeling of kind of like, what's happening? So a little bit like off base, off center, which was good because like whenever you're off center, you have to find your balance again. And that's part of the whole process. So just continuing to follow through in that theme. As the week kind of progressed, I was like starting to feel ways, and just one of the things that really stood out was I was on, we went as part of the school itinerary. There was a trip or a tour of the city, a Vespa tour, which was my first time on a Vespa. And that was really cool, like sitting on the back of this thing and kind of like, you know. Um, but at the one of the stops, we stopped at a temple, and we took a picture with the group, and I sent it to my parents, and my dad responds with, "Oh, like my elementary school was right beside there." I was like, "What's going on? What's happening?" Right? Like, I knew that this is where they lived and all of that, but I didn't really know. And just being in that space kind of like made me pause for a hot minute, and just kind of like, oh, like I feel like there's things that I need to do here. So then that began this whole kind of like path of like reconnecting, kind of going back into my roots. And like as I began to explore that, I ended up taking the last day when we were supposed to visit the Mekong Delta, and I opted out of that trip so that I could go and explore actually the like I went to visit my parents' old homes. I went to my mom's old place, which there were people there that still knew her. Her best friend's sister was still there, and you know, very gracious, sat down. This person took me in to actually visit with some of the people that used to know my mom, and just hearing these stories of like recollections of her life back in Vietnam was like, oh my God, like what's happening right now, you know? Then I went to visit my dad's old place, which was like he ended up apparently lived in a market. Like I knew his father, my grandfather, was a he sold rice. So, but I didn't piece it together that he lived in a market. Like he was literally like one. He had a there was a building there, and they sold rice out of it at the time. Now it's like all fruit. It's kind of like a whole fruit street. So, and I have videos of this that I could probably just post at the end of this. Maybe I'll do a little bit of editing and put it in there just for a little bit of context. But um, just seeing that just gave a lot of context to kind of like the areas that my parents had grown up in, and that was really interesting. So then I was like, that was the last day of the trip, and it was like a lot, right? Like I had had an amazing trip with some of my really great friends from this program. We went to like Paris for a day, and that was like its whole thing. And then like going through this, like spending all this time with them, it was like the end of the week, and just getting to that point of like, now I'm like leaving one thing behind and then moving on to another. Like everybody else was kind of going on their own like kind of side trips. There was a big group thing, but I ended up going to Japan on my own. And the Japan part of things, like, and this is kind of like how all the things kind of lined up, right? Like, I had no intention to visit my parents' old place, and I ended up doing that. And at this point, like after that, it was almost like hands off the wheel. Let's see where we're going. I was about to spend about 10 days in Japan with no specific itinerary, and um, I was just leaving it up to, like, I had hotels, I had places to stay, so I was just going to kind of go and see what I would kind of encounter. I probably have to go, if I went back through like some of the videos that I had taken, it was just like really, um, I could like recollect a lot of like specific things. What I do remember is just having a lot of feelings leaving Vietnam and then entering into Japan, like feeling like I was on this like kind of like self-discovery journey, you know? And a number of things kind of happened where on the I landed in Osaka, and on the bullet train, or I was taking the train into the city, and I was messaging some point. I think it was on a bullet train going from um, Osaka to Tokyo, messaging with Christian and just talking about like this experience I had, like visiting where my like parents and um, had lived, and she offered me like distance Reiki, which was like, okay, like let's do it. And the message that she had sent back to me was just like there's all these supports of like my ancestors, and like she had um, like she saw like hands kind of like guiding me, like supporting me from behind, and it's kind of like, oh, like your ancestors are supporting you and all of this, and it just felt really right. Like I was like tearing up on the bullet train, and like that just kind of led to a whole bunch of different things going on, right? Like one of the first things that I did, the reason that I had landed in Osaka and then moved to Tokyo like right away, was basically like I had thought that I was going to spend a couple days in Osaka, and turns out that there was this ONE FC event in Saitama Super Arena, which was like this thing. Like I had watched Pride FC when I was a child, and it was when I was a child. I wasn't that small, but just like I had never thought that I would have the opportunity to watch a fight in this huge arena, and it happened to just be there. I went and I went for it, and just these types of things just kept happening everywhere that I went. I was able to revisit places that I wanted to see maybe on the first time around, like in October 2023, I was in Japan as well, and there were some places that I didn't get to go. Like there was this art, kind of like artisanal area where there were like a lot of little shops and vendors there that I was just curious about what would be there, and just the timing didn't work out the first time through, so I was able to visit that. And actually, I found like one of my favorite necklaces at that time, which was this one that you've probably seen in some of the videos here. But this one here, I'll put it on right now just for fun, which I really do enjoy. Um, and like I could go through. Oh, the other like I'll just go through the big points because otherwise I'm going to get too lost in the weeds. But even before going to Japan, I had talked to Christian, and one of the people that she had done her breathwork training with, so she's also a breathwork facilitator, um, is based in Japan, I believe. So then I was connected with her, Eriko. Like a couple months before I had went on the trip, we had just kind of friended each other on Instagram, but I hadn't had a conversation with her. And then I was posting stories onto Instagram, and I guess I either reposted one that she posted or that I liked, or there was something, I think it was that. And then she responded and said, "Hey, how are you? Like thanks for reposting." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in Japan in the next little while." And she said, "I'm having a breathwork session, facilitating one on this date." It was like the Saturday before I was leaving, or the Saturday before I was leaving, yeah. And I was like, oh, like I can make that. I'm going to get a ticket and I'm going to show up. So it's like that. That really kind of highlighted to me that idea of like waiting for the invitation, of like, you know, waiting for the opportunity to connect with someone, like not forcing it, right? Because it's like, how am I going to open up a conversation with someone? Like, just like cold calling and things like that weren't really part of my vibe. I don't really like, it doesn't really work out well for me. But this was like the Sunday before I landed in Japan. I found this there was this connection made there, and I was like, I'm going to show up for this thing. And like, I could probably talk for hours on end about this, because there were so many like little details, but really the big parts of it was like, I really had this like opening of feeling like this support for from like my background, my history, my ancestors, and all of this. Getting even deeper into understanding like my background of like folk religion and all of this. And then moving into towards the end of this trip of like attending this breathwork session, which was like amazing. I had done I can't remember the I'm not doing it justice, but it was a type of breathwork, psychedelic breathwork, something like that. And it was like, what an experience. I had done it once before, and the first time that I went through it, the experience was like, okay. I didn't have like a experience, let's say. But in this, like being attending the session with Eriko and having that facilitation, like the care and the kind of atmosphere in this room was amazing. And I really felt like, as I was moving through the session, that um, I just felt like this vibrating buzz, like just energy coursing through my body. It started from my head and it started to spread um, all the way through my body, and it was just such a release. And I remember distinctly there was one part in the session that she was facilitating where she said, "Your ancestors are supporting you." And at that point, I just felt like everything was right in the world. And it's a wonderful feeling. And I mentioned this to her afterwards, and the wild thing that still gets me to this day is she said to me, it's like, that message was for you. I was like, oh, like all of these things that are just coming together. It was just such an experience. And then after that is kind of when I came back, to Toronto after all of these like life-changing experiences, this whole like solo traveling kind of journey. And that's when I began working on this program. It was kind of like that. I had been thinking about doing this thing for so long, like working through, like trying to just articulate and like really just living in my head. And I came back ready. I had started before I left. I believe I signed on with Crystal for business coaching mentorship. So I was like serious about doing something, but I hadn't started necessarily yet. So when I came home, like this was maybe March of this year, I was ready. I just started getting to work. And we're just on the cusp of July now. So in the span of the last 2, 3 months, I finished a third term of my MBA. Everything is completed. Today is actually the last day for deliverables. And today's the last day for deliverables. And tomorrow is when I'm going to start releasing these videos, July 1st. It's Canada Day. It's a national holiday over here. And I'm kind of like in the space of like getting ready to do this thing of like to putting it out. There are still parts that I'm a little bit like hesitating on. Like I haven't posted any of these videos. I posted a teaser, which was fun. I posted like Instagram posts here and there, but I haven't started posting these. So that's what's going to happen. And then I've set a date of July 31st for the launch of this program, which is kind of like that, again, that thing of like giving myself like a container of time to really work in. So it's been quite a journey of like almost 6 years maybe, getting to this point, getting to a point where I'm ready to kind of step out and say, hey, like, look, this is the thing that I can do for you. I know that I've worked with a lot of individuals and people in various different spaces, and a lot of times it's like things that people aren't really like looking for at that time. Like my MO is kind of like, if you come across me and I get the sense that there's a kind of invitation there, like we open up a little bit of conversation. I'm like, hey, like, have you heard of do you know what human design is? Do you know what your purpose is in life? Um, those kinds of things, or like asking questions like, are you happy with your life right now? And kind of like that's been a nice wedge into like the conversation, talking about like these different things: human design, hypnosis, like personal transformation, deep transformation, and changing from one complete trajectory that was laid out for you by someone else into moving towards your own path. And that's what I am here to do. That's what I'm here to be. That's what I'm passionate about, to like teach you and show you that this is possible for you. This is something that you have within your grasp, and it's just a matter of choice. And I don't say that in a way of saying that like I'm not saying that you're not making the right choices for you. I'm saying that there are a whole series of causes and effects that have brought you to this specific point. And if you're at a point where you're questioning your own path and you're feeling like you're not sure of whether or not you are doing the thing that was meant for you, because I know that there were days and times and periods of times where it was like a long stretch of like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. And I was able to move through that. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of you now, to put myself out there, to say, hey, look, like, we're going to do this thing if you are interested in doing it. So that's where the Haizhen Transformation comes in, to help you find clarity. My cat's trying to leave. That's where this program comes in, the Haizhen Transformation, to help you find clarity, to understand who you are and who you were meant to be in this lifetime, so that you can shed the narratives that were handed to you, the shoulds, the have-tos that you were told that you had to do. And once you've begun to see clearly who you are, then you can begin to embody and embrace and work through all of the things, starting to let go of all the conditioning and really starting to shine. So before my cat makes another mess, I'm going to pause there, and we're going to talk again tomorrow. Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to put that message out. Butter. You're such a menace. So just as a quick aside, this cat we've got during the pandemic, and he's so cute. He's like the gentlest cat in like the whole world. But he's like a funny guy. He's like a really funny guy. He loves to be kind of like on his own and do his own thing. But then, like, whenever you're doing something like where you need like your attention for, so specifically with me, like I'm sitting here like either making videos or like working on my computer over there, he'll come and like walk all over the place and just kind of be a menace. He loves knocking things over and just being a general like really cute menace. Like, look at this. So this is me today on June 30th, one day before starting to put out my videos. I'm saying it now because when you say it, it's real. It becomes real, right? Not like I'll try, which is another thing that I'll definitely talk about. So now that I'm starting to put these out, I'm going to start to make actual content where you can learn and kind of get a sense of what the different pieces of the Haizhen Transformation are. So more to come. And that's just one of those things. I should just mention that when I say like when you say it out, it becomes real. It's interesting because there's that kind of like mapping over to human design, where the throat center is one of the energy centers, and that is the center for manifestation. So that's like saying things out, speaking it into space, whether it's like intentionally saying it in your mind, saying it out loud makes it even better, communicating that message out. It's really interesting how all of these things kind of just start to like overlay and come together. So that was fun. It was nice to kind of put that out there in the messy middle. I'm gonna have that cleaned up and put into like a nice digestible form. But if you suffered through that, if you struggled through that, that's kind of my vibe with the channel of struggle. We're gonna have some fun, because why is it that life has to be a drag? Doesn't it? Let's go.